Hello and welcome to week 35 of the FUT Weekly podcast. This is a content episode and I'm delighted to be joined by plenty of content expertise, starting with 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪, FUT legend of course. Welcome back.
Thank you much, Ben. Excited to be back, though never excited about League One team of the season. So yeah. I don't know where that leaves me this week.
I heard a few people saying, is it straying into minor league territory without 𝘵𝘃 potentially? I mean, maybe. We'll move on to our next two guests. Actually, first of all, I'll introduce Nate, the FUT accountant. Welcome back. Been a little while. Good to have you back.
It has been a little bit of a time, but it is good to be back. Thank you for inviting me on again. And let's talk team of the season. Let's get into it. I mean, like Jape said, League One is probably the least hyped week, but we follow it up with La Liga, which is arguably the top two, one of the top two, especially with Liga F.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So totally. It's going to be good.
Yeah, totally agree. And we can introduce, I did him last because I spent enough time with him over the weekend. It's Josh 𝘃𝑥𝑐𝑒𝑙𝑠. Hello, welcome back.
Yeah, we met in real life. It was weird.
Yeah.
No, it was a great weekend. Got to watch United win, which was a novelty.
Yeah, a trophy as well. And had a great view of Toon's goal, which, you know, if people haven't seen, I'd definitely look up. It was a great goal. Worthy of winning an FA Cup final, as they say. Let's get into it then. And just before we dive into pound for pound, actually, Nate, I should ask you who you're going to pick for winner of last week's pound for pound. The options are, and they're all team of the seasons, Archie Gray, McAllister, Boniface, Adeyemi, and Balotelli. Who are you going to be picking?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Actually, I think after I think about it for a second, I'm going to go with Balotelli. And it's because A, he's super cheap. It's emotional as a kind of like legendary football player. And the fact that he can literally do the selfie celebration in game with the smartphone. I bought the card and played a few games with him just for that. I think is a small thing like that. It makes the card so sick. So I'm going to go for him. I know his playstyle pluses aren't the best, but it's fun. That's what it is. That's my vote.
Yeah, a good choice. And we'll move on into this listener suggestion. Well, not quite a listener suggestion, actually. It comes from producer Luke. He's gone for team of the season Ruben Neves because he runs a minor league only squad and mentions here that he used the SBC version, which was also actually a moments, but obviously a different type of moments, earlier in the cycle, then evolved him and was initially disappointed because the difference between the two versions, maybe it wasn't particularly big, but actually he's quite happy with it because apart from one less crossing, he says all stats are basically the same, if not better, on the new version. He's kept the 5-star weak foot that he gained from the Evolution 2. He's got Long Ball Plus, which is much more useful from DM than Incisive Plus, and he's got base tiki-taka. Anyone who's used him will know how good his power shots are, and the Bruiser Plus is another welcome upgrade. When you add in base ping to pass, intercept, anticipate, slide tackle, press proven, and aerial, it is an incredibly well-rounded CDM. And there we go, another great minor league TOTS pound for pound. Let's move on to you, Nate. Who are you going to be nominating?
Yeah, I'm going to nominate currently a card that's extinct. Hopefully the price range gets updated very soon. But just like Ruben Neves, he is most of the time, fodder midfielder is his gold card. But 93 𝗵𝘀𝘀 with 3 passing playstyle pluses and 99 passing. I just think that card, I mean, for Sergio Busquets, the last time I think of him having a 99 stat was, looked like the ultimate scream Busquets from all those years back. But yeah, he looks really fun. And I think at this stage of the game, I'm trying to have the most fun with the cards that I can. I think his other playstyles are great as well. And he just seems like a great CDM, probably with the medium-high CDM. But he's going to be able to find anybody on the pitch anywhere with those passing stats.
Yeah, and I think the really nice thing about him is he has every defensive playstyle as a regular, apart from slide tackle, which is what you'd want from a midfielder, and press proven, so he's going to feel pretty good on the ball, despite being, a bigger player. Although his stats in dribbling are really good as well. Yeah, that's a great nomination for sure. And I was actually going to ask, what kind of price do you think he will be, or is it going to be one of those ones where he ends up about the price that he is when he's extinct?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those. Like, he's a moments card. I do believe the TOTS moments, they seem to be a bit more packable. I would say price somewhere around like 300, 350K. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right, let's move on to you, Josh. Who are you going to nominate for pound?
Sticking with the theme of going from this mixed TOTS 3 squad, and I'm going for Prince Poldy, because Łukasz Podolski has got an absolute belter of a card, and he's less than 300k, and it's a lot for a player that doesn't have any kind of chemistry help, but he's German. It's very easy to get some German links to him, especially considering we just had Bundesliga TOTS, but also like just stick a manager in there and you can kind of like get him at least onto 2 chemistry. And when you put an engine on him, even on 2 chemistry, oh my days. He's got like a glorious collection of playstyles. His playstyle plus is a power shot, finesse shot, and aerial. It's like the holy trinity of attacking playstyles. And then he has first touch, press proven, trivela, power header. So the mix of that aerial plus and power header as the normal one is the perfect mix if you want somebody in the air. And then you go into his stats, and he's got 99 shot power, 97 positioning, 99 volleys, 92 finishing just off the bat. With an engine, if you can get him on full chemistry, it's 96 vision, 95 crossing, 96 short passing, 95 long passing, 99 curve. His dribbling stats are then 99 composure, 98 dribbling, like mid-90s for balance reactions and ball control, 89 agility. Just an outrageous striker, I would just put him on the bench. Like, just even if you can't get him in there, just stick him on the bench. It's a very expensive card for a pound for pound, nearly 300k coins. But oh my goodness, I've had so much fun with this card in the last like 24 hours since I got back. Unbelievable card. Like, he will be an awful lot of fun. If you just want to have a mess about with a 5-star striker from the Polish league, this is your guy.
Yeah, press proven as well. And first touch, I think, is great for someone of his kind of like build and physicality. I know he didn't used to be quite as much of a kind of physical player, I guess, but I was noticing he is 88 kilos, which is quite high actually in terms of weight on players. So maybe, he's bulked out a bit in the later stages of his career. So that's something to kind of bear in mind. But I think the press proven is going to help a lot for that. And he does have the bruiser. I still can't quite work out whether that's actually helpful in attacking situations. But a very good nomination as well. Some good ones so far. Who can you follow these with, Japes?
If you're someone who enjoys farming, I think that 𝘵𝘀𝘀𝘀 from Marseille is a really solid center back option for 20k maybe. Like, you have to be into the farming because he's from DR Congo, but he has 95 base reactions, and if you give him a shadow to go with aerial plus, intercept plus, and long ball plus, like, those are just great play styles for a center back to have. He's also got jockey, he's got block, he's got bruiser, he's got base pinged, he's got base slide tackle. So for the price, like, you're getting a fantastic center back, 4-star weak foot, high work rates. You just have to be committed to Ligue 1.
Compare him with everyone's Banzer as well, can't you? So it's
and Silas
actually, which is definitely a better paired player. We'll talk more about the SBCs in a second, but I've got to do my pound for pound, and there are absolutely no prizes for guessing who my pound for pound is for this week. It is, of course, 𝘵𝘰, who got a team of the season moments and is extinct currently at 290k. I'm assuming this is going to be a similar situation to Busquets, where that's probably around her price, or if anything, she could end up a bit lower just because she doesn't have Busquets' profile, I guess. But I've been using her, and it is really interesting because, of course, the fantasy that I was using has press proven plus, and this version has no press proven at all. But actually, I don't think it's really affected her that much, not having press proven, because she's a small player with exceptional dribbling stats and has other useful dribbling playstyles. I mean, obviously has the technical plus still, and feels press proven anyway, sort of thing. But the addition of tiki-taka particularly is amazing on someone playing her position. And long ball plus is quite a nice playstyle as well, although I don't find myself playing long balls that much with central centre mid kind of players, but for little chipped through balls and things, it is quite helpful. And she has all the passing play styles, including the return of ping to pass, which she had on the Evo version I was using, but not on the fantasy. I think she's probably one of the best between the lines creators in the game and has really good defensive stats. So if you can get her in and you haven't tried the 𝘵𝘰 magic this cycle, then definitely do so. She is fairly expensive, but as I said, she'd probably drop once she is no longer extinct. and I think therefore is a good nomination for pound, although I have to say it's a particularly strong week this week. Right, let's move into some of the SBCs we've had, because I know people have high-rated fodder, and if for whatever reason you're not really feeling the exchange, although of course Josh, I'm sure, will say you should be feeling the exchange all the time, but if you want to put those high-rated players into an SBC, then there are some new options. Perhaps we run through those before getting on to the big ticket SBC of this week, I guess. How do people feel, or any particular thoughts on Sissoko? Because he does look good. I don't know.
I thought he looked like 𝘰𝘰𝘬𝘬.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've used 𝘰𝘰𝘬𝘬 a lot. And like,
yeah, I've used 𝘰𝘰𝘬𝘬. And I like looked at this card and I was like, I guess if I like wanted another 𝘰𝘰𝘬𝘬, I'd do this, but I've already got him and I did, and he doesn't have icon chem, so.
Yeah, but he does have good play styles.
Yeah.
The thing I'm looking at the moment with defensive players is, do they have good passing play styles? Because they tend to have good defensive play styles, and he has every defensive play style, including 3 pluses in the defensive area, which is not normal, I would say. Often they get, aerial plus or long pass plus or something like that. But he also has incisive pass and tiki-taka, which I think will make up for him having, decent but not amazing passing. And, he's physically strong, mostly lengthy. He's going to be, a unit to get around. So I think for the price, if you can get him in and don't have a defensive midfielder, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, actually, if he works for you. But a player people may be less sure about is the 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬. He's a bit more expensive at 500k. Sissoko's 300k. Obviously, realistically, you're going to be putting fodder in there. Any particular thoughts on her, Josh?
She's a very good card. The base like gold version was one of those kind of scary cards to come up against early in the game cycle. And I remember her Thunderstruck card being a lot of fun to play with. So compared to that 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬, who just has that source, it's one of those where I kind of appreciate it, but I agree with you. I think if it was Sissoko's price, I think it'd be worth a tryout.
Yeah, I think the thing with 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬 is there's something a bit more joined up about her playstyles and the way her card works. Like, they're actually not too dissimilar, but because Kelly has Quick Step Plus and First Touch Plus, the way you're going to use her, she has base rapid as well. So she's extremely quick and can whip in a ball and is going to be a menace in that sense. Whereas 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬's kind of got a bit of everything to some extent. It doesn't quite have the same kind of elite in one particular area kind of vibe, if that makes sense. Technical with 90 composure is not necessarily so great, but when you have 90 composure like 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬𝘬 does, but you have Quick Step Plus and First Touch Plus and Whip Plus, then that kind of, does make her elite in that particular area of gameplay, I guess. So I guess that's probably the difference between the two.
I can speak up to 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬 as somebody who's actually completed the SBC.
Oh, well, here we are talking about it.
I did the SBC really quick on Friday because I had loads of fodder saved up, and I had packed her 89 gold, kind of as Josh had mentioned early in the game, and that card was like really broken, especially when Truvellas would go in a bit more than they do now, at least in my experience. So I did it right away, but I looked at my team and I was like, okay, where does she actually go? Like, I did the SBC without thinking where she'd actually fit in the team. And then, so I've landed with her being my right center mid with the high work rates. And I've just updated my team to be no defense, just vibes. And we just go forward and attack. And so, no, she is good, but I would agree with the sentiment of like, I was more drawn to the SBC because it was 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬 and her player build in game and how much fun I had earlier in the game, not necessarily because of its incredible value or the card is something completely different from what we're used to. It was more of the nostalgia for me and just the fact that she's honestly one of the most hyped players, if not the most hyped player in D1 Arkema. So it's kind of crazy that we got 𝘬𝘰𝘬𝘬 SBC in that regard, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
they just gave her junk playstyles to kill the hype.
Yeah.
Not like junk, but like they're just not, to Ben's point, they're not like in unison, like the way they feel like they should be.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. We're actually going to talk more about playstyle combinations on a future podcast. We need to take a break, actually. It's probably a bit overdue. So we'll do that and then we'll come back to talk a little bit more about the SBCs and some other interesting content topics. Hello, welcome back after the break. All right, so SBCs, and 𝘠𝘠𝘬𝘬's been mentioned already. We have talked about Sissoko. We had Silas since the last podcast too. I've always enjoyed his different versions. I think this one is a good one. It's quite affordable. I think it's a really good bench option. And I think in terms of your first 11, he might work if you're into his combination of playstyles, like a kind of more physical, tricky kind of forward, then he's great. And if you like Silas, you should just do him because he's really not that expensive. And we can probably then move on to what is really overpriced icon SBC, right? And something that's, I've seen plenty of chatter about, and that is 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗀.
Don't do her. Don't do her. I packed her previously, and she's hot. She's hot garbage.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you because you've used her, right?
Like she's a super unique player, but like talk about playstyle that just feel so blah as like playstyle pluses on her. Like just not fun. Not a fun card.
Yeah. What do you think it is about her?
Her agility and balance like aren't quite right to like make technical feel super saucy. You don't, the positions you want to use her in, like you don't care about the Trash Panda as much. They should have just given her quick step and interstep plus. Then that would have been like, all right, she can have like a major impact literally everywhere, which is I think the goal of the card, right? I was so stoked when I packed her because I was like, oh man, I'm going to use her and Sawa together. And this is about to be like some serious sauce and like spice. I'm here for it. And gosh, was I let down. Oh my gosh, was I let down.
Yeah. Josh, in terms of the price of this SBC as well, it does seem really high compared to some of the SBC prices we've been seeing.
I think they're in a bit of a tough spot with SBCs at the moment, especially of players that have already been released, because, you've got the fodder at the moment is on the floor. Like, I mean, it's literally at the bottom of the price ranges for a lot of them. And I've seen people picking up 89s on bid for under 10K. It's I mean, we're genuinely in a really weird position with it. And so the only way they can make these SBCs expensive is to start adding 90 plus rated squads, because then you have to be using special cards. You can't just use the gold cards. And then you get a 91 rated squad, and it's like, okay, now you need like 293-ish rated team of the season cards. It just becomes, I don't know, they're just in a weird spot. It's not that far off price-wise from what her price is on the market, and as we've kept saying, we probably shouldn't compare SBC prices to the price on the market. It's just, I think everybody's got better cards than her. And I think that's where that's where the issue really comes. I think it's a problem with Team of the Season in general, really, is that they're trying to build a hype for icons and hero SBCs, but they don't have 3 playstyle pluses. And so most people are just looking at them going, meh. We should really probably talk about the R9 SBC. And,
that was the one I was joking about. But yeah.
Do we think that was a mistake?
The value?
No.
As in it being 27 squads?
No. Like they meant to release this Team of the Year one, and they just happened to do the.
No, I don't think so. I think it was priced pretty much bang on what his base card cost was on the market.
Yeah, because the Team of the Year is like, what, 9 million coins or something?
Yeah.
And this is priced at about 3.5. So I think, it has to be deliberate, I think.
I'm sure he'll be good, but holy mother, that SBC.
And so I guess the first thing is the price. So it's like 3.5 million coins, but also, Josh, it's a lot of high-rated squads, right? So that makes it sort of even more difficult to complete, right?
Do you think they're going to release an Evo?
That he would fit? Oh man,
I don't know.
That would be spicy.
I don't know if we'll get an Evo that 94 rated anythings can fit in for a good while. Personally,
yeah,
I can't say. I agree. It would make this a bit more worthwhile, but I'm kind of seeing this in a similar vein to the Ronaldinho SBC, where like, I get it. These are players that people want to use, and it's good that they have access to be able to use them. I just think 1 playstyle plus at this point in the cycle is absolutely not enough, especially when it's quick step as the only one. And then if you look at his base playstyles, he's only got finesse shot, technical, and trickster. Like, it's not like there's 8 or 9 base playstyles backing it up where you can be like, oh yeah, but he's got that, icon source. He's got the aura, as people have started to say now. I'm glad we've got access to it. It's just like 2 months too late. So, yeah.
I would say I'd use the Team of the Year icon on loan, and he does kind of hit.
He's
different.
fine.
He is really good, but he's not like so much better than a lot of Team of the Season strikers like that. 𝘵𝘀𝗀𝘀 it's not going to be too different to him. And I know he has a unique body type, and you can tell in game he has these animations which are different to other players. But, I just don't think it's worth taking even the time to complete that SBC. That's the main thing that put me off doing 27 squads. Is it's a lot of time spent completing an SBC at a stage where, how much more utility are you going to get out of him? But I think it's a good point, Josh. Like, it's nice that he's there, I guess, to some extent, for people to do it if they really want to. And I think that wraps up SBCs this week, if people are wondering where to put fodder. I don't know whether we've really given people a particularly good place to put high-rated fodder, but I would say
to the exchange
is a good one. And yeah, you've always got the exchange.
On the point of exchanges and that topic, I just wanted to mention too that the upgrade pack grind on this game right now is in such a weird place. Usually in years past for upgrades, we're used to just buying the rare golds to then go and do the premium upgrades and then crafting into a player pick and then doing whatever other upgrades are out, right, to try to get the team of the season pack pulls. But this year, with fodder being like minimum price in its ranges as it is, 89s are like 17 to 18K right now. And it's actually cheaper to buy an 89 or a 90, whatever one's cheaper, right? And put it into an 89 exchange. It is cheaper to do that. You get more rare gold and non-rare gold value out of that exchange pack than you would if you just went out and bought that many rares or non-rares off the market. It is wild. That is how cheap fodder is, and why EA have to keep adding tons of squads into SBCs, like you guys were mentioning.
That is crazy. And I guess, Josh, any updates on the grind that people need to note? I think you got your comeuppance for saying that I hadn't grinded enough during the Premier League team of the season.
Yeah. Bundesliga was tough, but I feel like Bundesliga was tough for pretty much everybody. So I felt a little bit more kind of eased on that. Yeah, I did every 86 double. I did all of the 83x7 league specifics. I did 980 plus player picks, and then all of those exchange packs on top of it. And it was in the last 24 hours that I actually packed something that wasn't Jadon Sancho or Leif Davis, because that was pretty much all I had at that point.
Oh, I would have loved to have packed a Sancho.
Oh, I got him 3 times. So, I
Yeah, I
can't
would have
complain
given you one of
too
mine.
much.
Man, I packed Adeyemi so much.
Yeah, it was a weird week, but I've also seen people say the same about Liga, and I'm packing Liga Blues like it's going out of fashion. So I just, it's as I said, though, it is like you've just got to keep going. If you have a bad week, you have a bad week. It will turn around if you do enough of the upgrades and keep going at it. So, it was tough, but there's not really any massive change. Obviously, the 80 plus pick is expiring tonight. I think people by and large think that it's worse than the 81 plus, and I would tend to agree. It certainly helps with the 81 plus that you're using so many non-rares. You have enough rares left over to then go into the league specific upgrade packs, like the 4 rares and 7 non-rares, which was where I got all of my blues from Bundesliga. That was my big change. I think if you are struggling to pack team of the seasons, go for the league specific ones. They are more expensive and you will run out of fodder quicker, but I feel like there's a slightly higher drop weight with them. It's still like an insane grind, and as Nate said, you don't even need to have the fodder to start. You literally just like 100,000 coins. You could grind for days off 100,000 coins right now.
That's a good point. And what about the 81 plus times 5 League Un and D1 upgrade SBC for 40k? I mean, obviously, again, fodder price is actually cheaper than that, but it's an 83 and then a TOTS or team of the week and an 85, and it sort of refreshes every so often. Would it, you say it's, if you really want to pack a blue, it's worth giving that a go? Or?
Absolutely don't touch it with anything. But I will do every single one of them. Like, it's one of those where you can't miss out on doing it, but it's an awful price for a pack that is not, like, it's not good. I honestly think you're probably better off taking all of that fodder, putting, like, especially the 85 squad, put it all into the exchange and then just do gold upgrades and do the league specific upgrade packs. You'll get more 81 plus Liga and D1 cards from doing that than you would do actually completing the SBC. It's wildly overpriced in my opinion. Same with the 78 doubles or the 77 doubles for Liga. It's 16 players with 5 rares. Now you get 2 tradable rare golds back, but it's not worth it.
Yeah, as a lot of us like work in the menus with the exchanges and the player picks and stuff, you can get what you need for that 81.5 pretty quick. So that's why I think a lot of us do it. And the player pool for League One and D1 Ārkema is so much smaller than the other leagues. Statistically, it gives you a better chance of packing a blue, but you could probably get 481s and 182, and then maybe you get one with a blue. But yeah, it's worth to try, but also not worth the price at the same time.
Yeah. Do we need to remind people that they don't need to worry about submitting players higher than 89 into those exchanges, right? I'm assuming you guys are doing that.
Oh yeah, I've submitted multiple 94, 93, 92 rated cards into the 89 squad. Like, unless there's something that you want to do, like if you've still got, say, 83 by 10s are a lot easier because it's 83 rated cards. But if you've got an 85 rated squad, sometimes you can struggle a bit for the 85 rated players when you're doing the grind. If you stick that like 93 rated team of the season in there, you can then just put a bunch of 83s and 84s, and you've like reduced a little bit of the pressure on the 85s. But yeah, they're mainly going to the exchange or 𝘬𝘁𝗧𝘁, who I decided I needed to complete in the last like 48 hours of her being live. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I don't want to put them in the exchange. Let me go and complete something. It's like, look at how much you're submitting with that card that could have gone into the exchange.
Yeah, I'm that person. I'm definitely that person.
So yeah, just wait for an SBC you want to do, really, and then you'll have so much fodder in your club because you've not completed any of the SBCs that you didn't really care about, that you'll be able to go and complete them super quickly. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if you've, rather than saved up fodder to do an SBC, you saved up coins to buy players, I guess, Nate, people may be wondering, when should I be buying specific team of the season players if I want to use them? What has been the kind of pattern across the week that people may want to account for in terms of purchasing team of the season players?
Yeah, the trend has been pretty consistent actually over the first couple of weeks, like with Premier League and Bundesliga. It's all kind of based around the guaranteed team of the season pack for that big league. Like when the team of the season Premier League pack came out on that Wednesday, because that's when it happens every week. Usually right before that, the night before, or even the hours before, is when you see those players at kind of their lower points. I especially think of like Declan Rice back in during Prem TOTS. He was like 1.25 million. The SBC came out, and by the time we got to Friday, he was 1.4. That's kind of the trend you've been seeing. Same thing happened with Bundesliga. Is like that late Tuesday, early Wednesday has been the best time to, especially for the higher tier, big ticket players in each of the teams that are more rare, that a lot of people with a lot of coins are kind of chasing. Those are the ones that do the best most times. I'm a little worried about League One because I just, maybe it's the Farmers League aspect. There's not a lot of hype, whatever it may be. Like their cards do not seem to move as much as the Bundesliga and the Prem cards did. So I'm wondering if they will rise a ton, especially with La Liga coming afterwards. But I mean, there's still people that will want them, so they will move. But I just don't know if it's going to be like, a crazy investment opportunity. It's more so just trying to maybe save yourself a few coins if you buy it during that time frame, and probably don't hold it forever because every week we're getting new TOTS cards and new stuff, and then some of them will get re-released during Ultimate TOTS, and probably the new cards and the hype of the new stuff, right, will replace what happened 2-3 weeks ago. So I would not expect them to continue going up over time, especially with all the content we'll get this summer with the big competitions.
Yeah, then actually it's worth mentioning the mixed team of the season has a bit of a different pattern, right? Because it comes Sunday and then there isn't that much supply tradable until the new team of the season comes out the next Friday.
Usually they're low-ish, but then they go a lot lower on Friday because they're still in packs. And then, you have the whole Friday of the new team coming out. You have a bunch of packs opened and lightning rounds and stuff, supplying them. So usually it's honestly been the day they go out of packs, like the Sundays or Mondays for the mixed league. That's usually the best time to get in on those.
Yeah, nice. Makes sense and very good to know. We'll take a break there and be back with chat about the red pick debacle over the weekend in just a moment. Hello, listeners. A quick reminder that this podcast is made possible through the generosity of supporters out there. And actually, they aren't just doing it out of the kindness of their heart, because you get a whole extra podcast every single week as a supporter. And you can sign up for a 7-day free trial right now over on Patreon. And after that, it's just £3 a month to continue supporting. It makes a huge difference. The podcast for a time wasn't able to be weekly because I had other work commitments, but this has made it possible to deliver a podcast every single week, and in fact, an extra one too, just for supporters, as I mentioned. So if that interests you and you want that extra content, and actually if you would like even more, there's the supporter Discord at the gold tier, there is the Hall of Fame at the end of the podcast in the icon tier. There are loads of perks available, so why not check it out if you haven't done so already by searching Support for Weekly or following the link in the description of this podcast. If you consider doing so, that would be hugely appreciated, and a big thank you to all those supporters, as I said, keeping the podcast going and keeping Foot Weekly weekly. Right, let's get back into the pod. Right, let's move on to talking about a major EA cock-up in the shape of red picks over the weekend. In terms of what actually happened, Josh, I know you were sort of directly affected by this at the time, so do you want to talk about how this played out?
Yeah, so the first I became aware of it was on the Friday night. Obviously, the Champs now opens at 8 p.m. UK time on the Friday night instead of on the Friday morning. And so people weren't really finishing their Champs until 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then in the UK, we had an incredible Aurora Borealis. So everyone was outside looking at that. And then I got back to my computer at about 11 o'clock just to see how Champs was going for people. And someone was share playing their 20-0 rewards and got 𝘵𝘆𝑒, Dembele, and 𝘬𝘗. And I was like, that's weird. That's like ridiculous. And everyone was losing their minds. And then somebody share played their 11 win rewards and got Dembele and 𝘬𝘗. And then someone shared their 14 win rewards and got Dembele and 𝘬𝘗. And it was like, okay, there's a problem here. There's something is happening. And I was like, maybe they're just being kind. But I hadn't seen a single Golovin, Medina, like none of those like cards that you would have expected to see in red picks were showing up. So I hadn't qualified for Champs yet, and so I was like, let me get on this. And I played my 4 Champs qualifying games, all went to 90 minutes despite winning by minimum 5 goals in each of them. It was just gorgeous. And then I was 7-3. And at about 2:30 in the morning UK time, a tweet came out from EA with some interesting wording, essentially saying that Champs Rewards were giving unintended results and the issue has now been fixed. Essentially, 𝘵𝘆𝑒, Dembele, 𝘬𝘗 stopped showing up in red picks, and Medina and all of those cards you'd expect to be there started showing up. And for those that were grinding like me, that was incredibly frustrating, and I just stopped. Like I didn't want to play Champs anymore. And it's kind of led to a bit of a meltdown, really, but I as much as this is an issue, you know, in a similar scale, probably not in terms of numbers, but just in terms of mess up to the 𝘵esse Team of the Year issue, I think it's more, this is the like straw that's broken the camel's back for a lot of people. I know it's disincentivized a lot of people to play. My first reaction was, I just don't care about playing the game anymore. Like EA in their tweet kind of said the unsaid thing out loud, which is that you're not supposed to be rewarded for playing. And that was kind of, I don't know, just seeing it in black and white and done so blatantly was, I think it was a bit jarring for a lot of people, even if it was an interpretation of what they said.
Yeah, I guess my question is, in terms of people's frustration about it, do you feel like a lot of the frustration was because of the phrasing of the tweet? Because it made it sound like you should be getting bad rewards, because ultimately all they said was the picks were incorrect. We know that obviously 𝘵𝘆𝑒 and Dembele should be much rarer in red picks. Otherwise, you know, everyone would be walking around with 𝘵𝘆𝑒 and Dembele, and that'd be quite annoying. Is that why the tweet annoyed people?
So I think there's multiple things. The fact that, say, it takes weeks to give out compensation when there's a mess up that requires compensation. The fact it takes a week to update live cards, you know, from results that have happened in the past. The fact that we've still got Sudamericana Libertadores cards with broken price ranges. None of that gets fixed. I totally get people who go, I don't want to come up against 𝘵𝘆𝑒 and Dembele every game. I absolutely get that. But the fact that they fixed it at, like on the night, and that it was done so quickly in the same way that the Team of the Year 𝘵esse was done. And then the fact that that tweet does leave it open to interpretation, that what they're saying is you're not supposed to get good rewards. I understand what you're saying is that, they're just saying it was unintended for the best cards to constantly pop, but that is saying it's unintended for you to get good rewards. Like those two things can both be the same. And I know that we know that. I know that everyone went into that champs expecting to get terrible reds, but I also think that's fueled part of the problem, which is that if reds were like better, if reds every week just gave you one player that might make it into your team, then I don't think people are that up in arms. But because, take it from me, apart from a goalkeeper, I haven't got a red pick over 91 rated. And when I did when I got my rivals rewards last week, I had 4 choices of red team of the season cards. 2 of them were duplicates. Like when that happens, people are annoyed when they come out and go, oh yeah, you're not supposed to get good things. It's as I said, it's like it's saying the quiet thing out loud. But I think you then add on to the fact that people don't like the way that the store is set up this year. There's a lot of frustration with the gameplay, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in the gameplay pod, that I think there's maybe a little bit more nuance to that. But I think this happened on the Friday. On Sunday morning at 6 a.m. UK time, random time for content to come out, but we got an icon player pick released that was supposed to have Team of the Year icons in it and had base icons instead. And so that had to be removed and people would be compensated. And it was like, it's the long line of mistakes. It feels like there's no quality control or care. And I think as a customer, which is what we really are, you want to feel like there's at least some care being given to the product that's going towards you. And this isn't at the people specifically that are working on the game. It's more just it feels like a cultural issue at EA of the way they view the live service of FC 24. It makes an ungodly amount of money and feels like it's being run on a shoestring budget. That's what it feels like as a player, even if that's not the truth.
Yeah. Would you say, Nate, that it's like the community feels disrespected almost by these mistakes? Like they're not taking what we take seriously as they should?
That's definitely part of it. And I think what Josh just mentioned there is really spot on as well. And it's really the combination of all the things that have happened this year and the frustration with the gameplay and the inability to fix things that seem so simple. Like from a market side of things, the price ranges this year updating super slow and cards being extinct. Like last week, Bundesliga TOTS cards were extinct for like 5 days before they finally got a price range update. That sort of thing. The market bans that have happened for wrongful reasons this year. People trying to buy a silver for 10K for an Evo or sell one from their club, they get market banned. Just one card. So yeah, I think it's been a culmination of all those things, and this was kind of like the tipping point, like he said. And it's just really caused a lot of frustration, and the community has also caused itself more frustration, and I think made this into a really, really big thing because of all that.
Yeah, James, I was going to ask you, one of the things that people were saying is, rather than fix it when they did, when I would say probably, let's say, 5% of champs players had probably managed to finish champs at that point, should they have just let that error persist through the weekend so everyone had a fair chance at getting your Dembele and Mbappe?
Sitting where I sit, like having like not even like there would have been no way that I would have been able to do that. Like it was my son's birthday. I don't know. Like I just think it's one of those where it's like you feel as a community member that you're like, you just want to be given, like, because of how competitive they've made this game, right? You just want to feel like you have the same, like you're playing on the same battlefield, the same footing. And when you don't get that opportunity because they decide to take the pick away early, then it feels bad, because like my thing is like, oh gosh, all those super hardcore committed Friday players that I'm gonna have to play in Elite now are just all gonna have Mbappe. And I don't, like, it makes me really not want to play. So like, would I have wanted to play more if I would have gotten Mbappe too? Like, I'm probably not the right person to ask that question, because like, let's be real, I'm probably not going to be using Mbappe. But you just end up feeling really bad that you don't get the same chance to use the players that everybody else seems to be able to use because of this error. And I know it's not fair to say that everybody gets to be able to use, because that's obviously not going to be the case. It's not going to be everybody, but every time that you come up against the first owner Mbappe, especially in red, you're going to be like, BS, man. And same thing every time you come up against first owner Messi, the last time, it just feels bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's fortunate your Mbappe is not red right now.
I was not going to bring it up myself.
You must have felt so special at that point, but then, a couple of hours later.
Oh, yeah. And I had a moment of weakness when I responded to that EA tweet showing my blue Mbappe and saying blue Mbappe greater than the red, because when I saw that all going down too, I was like, Japes, I was at a birthday party as well, and like not involved and not seeing what was going on. And then all of a sudden I see these tweets. I'm like, what in the world? And then like in my mind, oh my gosh, everybody's getting red Mbappe and all these insane cards. And I'm just like, that just took the hype away from my like pack pull at the moment, that I was like so excited to have packed that crazy card, like the pinnacle of packs.
Yeah. I haven't even packed gold Mbappe this year. So like,
I know,
hats off to you.
I know, that was my first one too. And you know how it is. It's just a streak of lightning flashed and I was beneath it and got Mbappe. But like, for me, that was like, man, my Mbappe doesn't seem special anymore like it kind of should, because it's, it's that card. So that was the moment of weakness. I had to kind of, tweet that out and say, I got the blue one, not the red one. But yeah, it's the responses under that tweet were crazy.
Yeah, I do think the point Japes makes is really, it's a really salient point that I don't think I've seen many people say, is that I think a lot of the frustration is Messi was a 10 million coin card. It was a brilliant card, and we got a little bit of stick at the time for saying like he's not the best card in the game. Mbappe is the best card in the game. This is like a more of like, if I come up against Mbappe, I know I'm going to concede a goal to him. It's just inevitable, because he'll get a bounce back. He's glitchy animations. He makes your defenders fall over. Messi never really felt like that. I've used him since, and he's a great player, but not the best in the game. And if you make a game this competitive, and then there is an unfair advantage, like with the Messi thing, I got to complete that pick and I didn't get him. I actually completed 4 picks and I didn't get him. But I had the same chance as everybody else. I just got unlucky. With this, I haven't even had the chance. Like, I've not been given the opportunity to. Mm-hmm. This game is never going to be fair. If everybody does an icon player pick, somebody's going to get Team of the Year Ronaldo, the R9 Ronaldo. And I get that, but at least I had the chance. There were so many problems with the way that this was... The fact that this happened in the first place is wrong. The way that whatever they do is probably wrong afterwards. If they let everybody get the pick and everyone's running around with Mbappe and Dembele, I reckon their engagement probably falls off. We're already seeing, as Nate says, the Liga cards aren't really moving in price. I presume because quite a few people have got the best 2 cards and are like, well, I don't need to do any more with this. So there is issues with every way they deal with it. And that's why I think that the protest, as people want to say right now, that's happening is more a general feeling of where the game is and where it's been going, and the lack of care, as I said. I think that I think is more what's happening rather than this specific problem being the issue. It's more just the one with the marquee player that's kind of made everyone go, hang on a minute, like, what are we doing here? Like, I think that's the issue.
Yeah, although your point about it being more fair, the Messi thing, because everyone had a chance to do that, I don't think is true, because it's kind of the same situation in that some people will have been around and able to take advantage of it, as is always the case, and some people wouldn't have, right?
Oh, so no, absolutely. I mean, I meant that was from a personal perspective. Yeah. I get that.
And I see what you mean. It was easier for people maybe to take advantage of that, if you like, than playing a whole champs, but that just means actually, because even though they stopped it fairly late in the evening UK time or in the night, there has still been a lot less people obviously impacted by this than if they let it continue to run over the course of the weekend and into the next week, I guess, as champs does currently. But I think the thing you've got to think is that actually there are a lot of people who just wouldn't have been able to play champs that week, or don't play champs at all. Of course, there are a lot of people who don't play champs, and they would have been really severely impacted by the quality of player that their opponents would then get if they'd played champs. And while I appreciate it's fair for those who could play champs, for them to get those rewards, it isn't very good for anyone else. In fact, it's extremely bad, and it would have been a more prevalent issue. Those players would have been more prevalent. Yes, you might have them in your own team, but you'd also come up against them way more. And in my opinion, protecting the variety of players you come up against is one of the core things that is really important for game health. And it's frustrating enough that we see certain players almost too often. It gets better around team of the season, but if it had been 100% of players over the course of champs getting those picks rather than what was probably about 5%, that would have been so much worse, at least in my view. Everyone's going to have their own take on what they would have preferred, but to see those players super frequently, the quality of Dembele and Mbappe, I know Mbappe wasn't ultra common, but he was much more common than you'd expect. That, I think, would have been incredibly frustrating, and I would rather the number of people with them is restricted rather than I get them myself and you also see them all the time. So it's one of those things where, yeah, as I said, everyone's going to have a slightly different view on it. I think one thing that this has highlighted is actually how poor those champs rewards have been, the red picks, and I don't see them very frequently when I'm playing. The reds that I see people getting are often at best side grades. And I think if people had been getting better rewards in reds through champs, they wouldn't be so frustrated about this. And I really don't see why the quality of champs rewards can't be improved. Personally, I would like to see a min rating and the women's teams added into red picks. And I think that would make for better rewards, but also a bigger variety of rewards potentially as well. So maybe something for 𝗵𝘃𝗰𝗀𝗏. In terms of the mistake itself, I can actually clearly see how this might have happened. No excuse for it, but because of the time that champ starts, just 2 hours after content drop on Friday, means that the concept versions of these red picks actually go into the game very close to when champ starts. And so that means that I'm guessing they mess something up while trying to execute that more quickly than they would normally do. And I guess that's indicative of the issues I think EA have when making mistakes, basically that they don't have maybe the infrastructure, the checks and balances, the resources basically that they clearly should have, considering how much the game makes, to not make these mistakes. And they've decided they would rather increase the volume of content. And if we make mistakes sometimes, then that's part of the process and the trade-off for doing more content. But I appreciate quite a lot of people would probably rather those mistakes weren't made and perhaps we had a bit less content and more time was put into making sure things were right. And obviously, ideally, you'd want both. And I've seen people mentioning an FC point boycott, but realistically, it makes sense to do something like that. It needs to come with some sort of community message, like, we want you to invest in the content team so we don't get these mistakes, right? We're going to withhold our custom until you stop taking the money as profit and reinvest it into the game itself. So that kind of thing would make sense. And I can see why, the community is getting behind that, but it probably needs more structure.
I think you covered that really well. I think the whole, a lot of people are asking the question now of like, what we're not really happy with this right now. What can we do to potentially make a difference? And I think that the FC points thing would be the best way to try to, I guess, make your voice heard and like actually make a difference. But, that's also a thing where it's like, how is that going to work? Is it going to work? And what would be able to come with it type of situation? Like, this is one thing that I mentioned last night was, sure, we can have all these great aspirations of trying to incite change and trying to get them to, do the things that we want them to do. Like you said, maybe get more employees, maybe pay attention to these things that we feel are lacking in the game. But if we get their attention somehow by whatever means, like, we also need to have really good quality feedback, exactly explaining what we want to see changed, and not just be like, oh, we got your attention, now what? Like, we got to also bring the points to them and say, hey, we like your game. We love football. This is the best football game that there is. Like, we want to make it better so that we all can have a better experience on it.
Yeah, and actually on the gameplay front, we'll be critiquing some gameplay elements on the gameplay podcast this week, the supporter episode, alongside the usual tips. So if you're a supporter, do check that out. And if you're not and you fancy supporting, a reminder, it's just £3 a month and you get double the podcast content every single week. Just search support for weekly. And I did want to finally say the servers have been a complete mess this weekend. And personally, I've found that much more frustrating than the whole red pick situation, I have to say. Got disconnected after 2 wins over the course of champs so far, which is very, very frustrating indeed. The servers generally have been better than this normally over the course of the last few years. So I'm pretty surprised. Hopefully they can get it sorted quickly. But yeah, that's where we should wrap it up. Thank you very much to Nate, of course, for joining us on this podcast. Always appreciate it. And of course, people can catch you on YouTube, etc.
Yep, absolutely. Just search up the Foot Accountant. I'm really getting more excited now for like the summer stuff. Like, we're a month away from Euros starting, Copa America getting going. That is, every time I think back to the summers when it correlates to one of those competitions with this game, there's usually good times. So I'm genuinely looking forward to that now.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Right. Josh as well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, it was good discussions, and I'm looking forward to the summer as well. I'm looking forward to the Liga TOTS. I think it's going to be a crazy week.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And thank you very much as well to Japes as well. Been good to have you.
Cheers, Ben. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. And a reminder, you can support the pod, as I said earlier, over on the Patreon. Search Support Foot Weekly, and that you can also subscribe via the various podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, and also on YouTube. If you're over there, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe. It definitely helps us out. And of course, finally, a huge thank you to all those supporters, including those icon patrons. Dave B, Hugh J, Darren W, Alistair M, Don P, Rob P, Jeff B, Damon H, Tom B, Adam G, Neil P, Alex M, Jake S, Dan W, Roger D, Lee A, Andrew C, Nishant, Waterman, Dylan H, Adam R, Rob L, Brendan W, Michael K, David G, Jimmy K, Cherry Drank, John D, Michael B, Aditya S, and Joshua K. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.